Welcome to A Year of War and Peace. I'm your host, Brian E. Denton. A Year of War and Peace is a daily, year-long, chapter-by-chapter reading of and meditation on Leo Tolstoy's epic novel, War and Peace. In these videos and podcasts, you'll be treated to a free reading of one chapter per day of the novel, plus a reflective essay I've written individually tailored to that day's chapter. These readings are offered for free, though if you'd like to support me, you can do so in one of three ways. First, you could purchase my ebook, A Year of War and Peace. It features the entire novel, plus all of my reflective essays, and it's only $2.99 on Amazon.com. You could also become a patron at patreon.com/BrianEDenton. If you sign up there, you'll receive a sonnet once a month, plus a link to an ebook of my collected sonnets. Finally, if you like, you can make a one-time donation to my PayPal account. The email there is brianedenton@gmail.com. You can also use that email to contact me. I'd be happy to hear from you. Your support is greatly appreciated. Today's reading and reflection is from chapter 279. Chapter 279. Bennigsen's note in the Cossack's information that the left flank of the French was unguarded were merely final indications that it was necessary to order an attack, and it was fixed for the 5th of October. On the morning of the 4th of October, Kutuzov signed the dispositions. Toll read them to Ermolov, asking him to attend the further arrangements. All right, I haven't time just now," replied Ermolov, and left the hut. The dispositions drawn up by Toll were very good. As in the Austerlitz dispositions, it was written, though not in German this time, "The first column will march here and here. The second column will march here and there," and so on. And on paper, all these columns arrived at their places at the appointed time and destroyed the enemy. Everything had been admirably thought out, as is usual in dispositions, and, as is always the case, not a single column reached its place at the appointed time. When the necessary number of copies of the dispositions had been prepared, an officer was summoned and sent to deliver them to Ermolov to deal with. A young officer of the Horse Guards, Kutuzov's orderly, pleased at the importance of the mission entrusted to him, went to Ermolov's quarters. "Gone away," said Ermolov's orderly. The officer of the Horse Guards went to a general with whom Ermolov was often to be found. "No, and the general's out too." The officer, mounting his horse, rode off to find someone else. "No, he's gone out." "If only they don't make me responsible for this delay. What a nuisance it is," thought the officer, and he rode around the whole camp. One man said he had seen Ermolov ride past with some other generals. Others said he must have returned home. The officer searched till 6 o'clock in the evening without even stopping to eat. Ermolov was nowhere to be found, and no one knew where he was. The officer snatched a little food at a comrade's and rode again to the vanguard to find Miloradovich. Miloradovich, too, was away, but here he was told that he had gone to a ball at General Kikin's, and that Ermolov was probably there too. But where is it? "Why, there, over at Inchinko," said the Cossack officer, pointing to a country house in the far distance. "What, outside our line? They put 2 regiments as outposts, and they're having such a spree there, it's awful. 2 bands and 3 sets of singers." The officer rode out beyond our lines to Etchinko. While still at a distance, he heard as he rode the merry sound of a soldier's dance song proceeding from the house. In the meadows," he heard, accompanied by whistling and the sound of a torban, drowned every now and then by shouts. These shouts made his spirits rise, but at the same time he was afraid that he would be blamed for not having executed sooner the important order trusted to him. It was already past 8 o'clock. He dismounted and went up into the porch of a large country house which had remained intact between the Russian and French forces. In the refreshment room and the hall, footmen were bustling about with wine and viands. Groups of singers stood outside the windows. The officer was admitted and immediately saw all the chief generals of the army together, and among them Ermolov's big, imposing figure. They all had their coats unbuttoned and were standing in a semicircle with flushed and animated faces, laughing loudly. In the middle of the room, a short, handsome general with a red face was dancing the trepak with such spirit and agility. Ha ha ha! Bravo, Nicholas Ivanitch! Ha ha ha! The officer felt that by arriving with important orders at such a moment, he was doubly to blame, and he would have preferred to wait. But one of the generals espied him, and, hearing what he had come about, informed Ermolov. Ermolov came forward with a frown on his face, and, hearing what the officer had to say, took the papers from him without a word. "You think he went off just by chance?" said a comrade, who was on the staff that evening, to the officer of the Horse Guards, referring to Ermolov. "It was a trick. It was done on purpose to get Konoyitsin in trouble. You'll see what a mess there'll be tomorrow." All right, that concludes my reading of chapter 279. I will now proceed to my reflection on the same. A Year of War and Peace, Day 279. A Call for Clouds. There is always the consolation that someone somewhere is having a worse day. In comparison to the darkness of another's lot, our own sometimes seems a bit more luminous. But that light is dim indeed that is powered by none other than the misery of another. What better response, then, for those like the officer in today's chapter who find nothing but frustration and disappointment in their daily grind? Poor guy. He's tasked with the simple order of delivering battle dispositions to Ermolov, but is thwarted at every turn. Ermolov is never where he's supposed to be. The officer spends all day in a worried rut, running here and there, trying to deliver the battle plans. And when he finally does locate Ermolov, he finds that man partying. By the chapter's end, the officer is totally demoralized. If only he had been blessed with the brilliant sparkle and salutary sheen of pessimism. For the way to defeat disappointment is not to compare your situation favorably to the misfortune of others, but rather to assume those misfortunes as your own. Sunny forecasts turn to showers, but you'll always bring an umbrella with a call for clouds. Daily meditation. Mark the attacks and charges of fortune long before she delivers them. She is only terrible to those whom she catches unawares. He who is always looking out for her assault easily sustains it. Seneca, Of Consolation to Helvia. All right, that concludes my reading of and reflection on chapter 279 of War and Peace. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks so much for listening. Remember that if you'd like to support me, you can do so either by purchasing the ebook, A Year of War and Peace, becoming a patron at patreon.com, or making a one-time donation at PayPal. The links to all that are down below in the description. Your support is greatly appreciated. Tomorrow we're going to be reading and reflecting on chapter 280 of War and Peace. I hope you'll join me. Until then, take care of yourselves and others.